Soundbrenner is a vibration-based metronome that allows you to follow tempo without the need of an audible click. It is designed to be used as a practicing tool, but I found ways to integrate it to a recording and music production environment, and it truly has improved my workflow. Let me show you how I did it. Hello there girls and boys, and welcome back to the channel. In this video I will show you how to use the Soundbrenner core in conjunction with your digital audio workstation for recording and music production purposes, including multi and polyrhythmical functions that are not necessarily speaking part of what the Soundbrenner offers right out of the box. But spoiler alert, I found a way to do it and I will share it with you in this very video. And one more thing, everything presented in this particular video is based on using an iPhone, a Mac, and Logic. So please bear that in mind. With that being said, let's continue. So the first thing that we're going to be doing on our Mac is to click on Audio MIDI Setup, and then we're going to be scrolling down until we find the name of our phone. From here, we're going to click on Enable, which will be allowing the communication, MIDI communication, to happen between the phone and the computer. Now on the Soundbrenner app, we're going to go to Metronome, and then we're going to be able to see that icon on the upper corner on our screen. We're going to select that guy, and from here we're going to look for App Settings. In App Settings, we're going to go all the way down until we find the MIDI Settings option. In case it's off, turn it on. And from there, we're going to be able to see two different sessions available to us. One is Input MIDI Devices, and the other one is Output MIDI Devices. We're going to select both, and we're going to select in the case of Input MIDI Devices, the external option. More on that later. Up until this point, we only made our phone to be visible to Logic as a MIDI device. But now we're going to make sure that the information contained in Logic, aka the tempo, is sent correctly to the phone and from the phone to the Soundbrenner. Let's do it. In Logic, we're going to go straight to Settings, or by pressing the key command, comma, and we're going to go straight to MIDI. In MIDI, we're going to go to Sync, and in here we're going to make sure that we click on this particular section here, which is MIDI Sync Project Settings. In here, you're going to be prompted with this gigantic and ugly looking screen, by the way, and sometimes you can be sent directly to General. In this case, we're going to go to MIDI, and we're going to turn on the phone. We're going to select iPhone as a source, a destination for MIDI information. And it's just a matter of clicking on any single one of these boxes, ticking them all. And from here, if everything goes according to the plan, if I press play, my Soundbrenner will be actually following the tempo of the track. It is doing it. And if you don't believe me, let me put it close to the microphone and you will hear it now following the tempo. Great, right? The thing is this. You might find yourself in the need of changing the tempo of the track. Let's say that it has to go slower. There is a way to do it. We go back to Logic. We press G on our keyboard, which is going to give us the information here displayed over here. And on tempo, we simply map the tempo change. Let's say that we are going to go a little bit slower, 10 BPMs slower, and see what happens. I'm going to press play, and 2 bars are going to be about 120, and then the next section is going to go down to 110. Working correctly. And one thing has to be mentioned. When you work in this mode, the Soundbrenner will actually blink in accord to the signal or the tempo changes. Look at this. Excellent. So far, so good, right? The thing is this. What will happen if you are one of those crazy MFers who write progressive rock music? And that means that you are writing music with tempo changes, not only tempo changes, but also time signature changes. As it is right now, the Soundbrenner won't be able to see the change in time signature. Let me show you. Once again, coming back to Logic. Let's say that we are going to swap and create a badass time signature change here. And we're going to go for 6/4. Okay? See what happens. I'm going to press play once again. one bar is going to be 120, the second bar is going to be 110. Both of them are going to be following 4/4. And then the third bar is going to go to 6/4, but it's going to stick to 110. See what happens to the Soundbrenner. It's stuck in 4/4, even though the time signature change happened there. There is a way to fix it. Of course there is, and I will show you right away. Now, girls and boys, we're in front of a fully populated project that, as you can see, it's not only filtering with tracks, but it also has plenty of time signature changes, including a tempo change that happens later on. We're still connected to the Soundbrenner the same way as we did before, and if I press play, the Soundbrenner will kick in correctly, following the tempo, but you'll see, right now it's 4/4 on the Soundbrenner, and the track is playing for 3/8. See what happens. As you can see, it's still stuck on 4/4. The way for me to get it going will be coming here to Soundbrenner and manually changing it to 4/8, to 3/4, sorry. That way, as soon as I press play again, it will keep up with the tempo of the track correctly. Yeah, it kept with the tempo, but as soon as the 7/8 happened, we lost it. So how to fix it? Let me show you this. You have to understand first and foremost that what we did with hooking up the phone to the computer was turning the Soundbrenner app into a MIDI device that accepts and sends MIDI information back and forth. With that being said, if we go and take a look at any virtual instrument, they behave the same way. You create a section or a region on which you have the notes to be played by the virtual instrument, and as soon as you press play, those notes will be sent to the sound engine and telling the sound engine which note to play at what velocity, what intensity, in which point in time. Very simple to understand, okay? The same happens with this bad boy. How to pull it off like that. Look, if we think in terms of that, we can create a region on which we have the different time signatures set to the tempo, and this will trigger the sound, or instead of the sound, the intensity of the vibration on the Soundbrenner according to its position in the timeline. Let me give you a visual example. A MIDI region contains what is known as MIDI notes, containing all sorts of information like pitch, length, velocity, among many others. Those notes are organized in pitch by what is known as a piano roll, while its position in relation to time is controlled by the grid in your DAW, which in turn contains tempo and time signature information. As you can imagine, if you create a series of notes attached to the grid and you change the tempo or time signature, those notes will adapt and follow the new settings. In here, girls and boys, I got this particular MIDI track, which you can see here, zooming in. And if I double click on any of the different regions here, we'll be prompted with a much more clear way to display it. You can see that I got this that could be seen as the accent. This is the first hit at the beginning of the tempo, and this is a 7/8. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The plan here is to create MIDI regions containing MIDI notes set to the grid following the beat of the time signatures that will conform our track, for example, a 4/4 beat. Since we now are trying to see the Soundbrenner as a MIDI device, as a virtual instrument, as I explained to you, in theory, if we were able to send this information, this MIDI information, to the Soundbrenner app, and from the Soundbrenner app to be sent to the Soundbrenner, it should follow the tempo of the track, in theory. But what if I tell you that it is very simple to do, and it actually works? Let me show you. First, on the Soundbrenner app, we gotta make sure that we remove the external from the hosting that we did at the beginning. And now I'm gonna take you back to Logic, and in Logic, we're gonna keep everything that we set up while we were running the MIDI setting earlier in this video, but instead of just using the tempo of the track for information for the triggering of the Soundbrenner, we're gonna be using the MIDI track here. So the way to go is simply creating a new MIDI track, such as the one that I got here, and instead of loading it with a virtual instrument, we're going to select external instrument. That could be found all the way down here in utility, external instrument, and we select mono just because. From here, if I unmute it, we're going to be able to send that information to wherever destination we decided to go. In this case, I open the external instrument plugin, and in here I select iPhone as my destination. Remember that we turned the iPhone into a MIDI device. The channel is channel 1 because I have my phone expecting information coming from channel 1 MIDI-wise. There are many more things to come in that regard, or many more details that shouldn't be discussed in this video. And then we got audio input. Since we're not expecting any form of feedback coming from a virtual or from an actual synthesizer, because this is intended to be used to trigger, for example, the Juno that I got over there on the back, or my Mother 32 over there, which both are MIDI compatible synthesizers, which will allow me, for example, to control them with the grid on Logic rather than playing the notes on them. It's very badass, and you have seen me using those instruments and those applications in several different live streams in the channel. You can find them somewhere on the screen. Now, coming back to this. Since we understand that we're going to be sending this MIDI information through MIDI to the app, and then from the app to the Soundbrenner, in theory, if I press play, the Soundbrenner is going to bypass the tempo here, and instead it's going to be listening to the signal here. Check it out. It is working right now, but since you could see that there is no light coming on, when you use it in this mode, the lights are turned off. Why? Don't know. It's something that has to be addressed by the people at Soundbrenner, and maybe because this is not necessarily a supported feature. What I'm going to do, I'm going to remove Mutomatic, and I'm going to make sure that you can hear the microphone while the track's playing. And for obvious reasons, I'm going to mute the output of the music, because I want you to make sure that you can actually hear the sound of my Soundbrenner vibrating to the tempo of the track. Here we go. It worked. If you happen to be in the look for a Soundbrenner for yourself, there is an affiliate link in the description to this video on which you can actually not only support this channel, but also if you type down this code in front of you at the moment of the purchase, you will get a badass discount added. So don't hesitate and go straight to the store. I gotta tell you that this method, it's not only very effective, it works better, it behaves way better because it follows the tempo in a much more steadier fashion, because it's not trying to do the calculations inside of the app. It's actually just triggering a MIDI input. And since the whole computing thing is being done by Logic, it's much more robust and it's actually much more streamlined because it's less information being sent to the device, I think. Now, let me show you how I did it, because even though it's amazing, it comes with its drawbacks. As you can see here, since we're dealing with a virtual instrument approach rather than letting the clock being sent from MIDI, from Logic to the Soundbrenner, we have to treat it as an instrument. Therefore, I had to populate every single one of the different sections of my song with an empty track or a MIDI track containing the different tempo changes. For example, I have to create this region, which is 3/8. Then I have this region, which is 7/8. Then I have this region over here, which is 5/8. And then the final section, which is 4/4. It comes with a little bit of an extra workaround, but what you could do, and it's something that I did, I created just loops that now are part of my Logic sessions, on which I just simply drop them, and I have them named after the time signature they are following. Another thing, you can actually select which of these notes, because you can tell here that I have one note being higher in pitch than the rest. This is due to the fact that depending on which note you trigger, it's going to send an information, or it's going to send information for the Soundbrenner to vibrate at a different rate of intensity. This guy over here is the highest. And then we got the shortest and the slimmest in intensity, the less powerful vibration. And we got one in between, which is, I think, is the strongest. Let me show you. Yeah, this is the strongest. Which one to use? I will recommend you to keep with the ones that I have here, because you got a good intense hit on the accent, on the upbeat, and the rest of the beats are gonna be presented in a fashion that allows you to tell the difference between one and the other. As you can see, this is fantastic. It expands way more the opportunities and the functions that the Soundbrenner offers just by knowing a little bit of trickery or wizardry when it comes to understanding MIDI. I know that MIDI is kind of sketchy territory for the vast majority of musicians, but as you could see, it's very easy to do. Just follow exactly the same steps that I showed you in this video and you would be able to get it up and running super fast. It's super efficient, and I gotta remind you that you can connect up to 5 Soundbrenners to the same device, which means that you can actually, and this is what I do here at the studio, when I am tracking somebody, I hand to the artist one of the Soundbrenners that I have here to spare, while I have mine on my wrist. That means that both of us could be following the tempo by feeling it rather than hearing it. So you can imagine what you could do, because you can even have a very badass rehearsal session with your band, all of them rocking a Soundbrenner, following the tempo up to 5, of course, without having to have the click drilling your ears on your in-ear monitors. How badass that is. So good, highly recommended to do, and I think it's one of the best uses for a Soundbrenner that I got here at the studio. Even though it's a fantastic device for practicing purposes, you won't believe how much I love using this bad boy in production and recording, because that allows me to focus on the sound while keeping up with the tempo by removing the sound of the click track coming through the speakers or headphones while recording. So girls and boys, if you got any question, please let me know in the comment section down below. And please, if you want me to show you how to do it in a different digital audio workstation, let me know in the comment section down below as well, because as you could see, it took me a while for me to produce a video such as this one to this level of quality. And if I go, for example, to Luna or Bitwig, it will take the same amount of time. But being very frank, it's very easy, and I think you can figure out by just following the same and replicating the same steps on your digital audio workstation, because all of them work in a very similar fashion. Now girls and boys, with that being said, if you want to support this kind of content and you want to support this channel, the best way to do it is by listening to music on Apple Music or Spotify, and also by following us on social media such as Instagram and X, because that's the best way for you to get in touch with us in a much more personal basis. Now girls and boys, the only thing left to be said is that you should never let anybody tell you what to dream about, and remember that I will see you when I see you.